What's up, leaders? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Lead From Here Podcast. I'm Jason. Before we get into today's topic, I just wanted to kind of remind everybody that things are changing, things are shifting. We're going to be moving to a Tuesday, Thursday schedule for the podcast. Wednesday will be kind of a new thing that I will announce tomorrow that I'm also very excited about, that focuses a little bit more on the behind the scenes of what's happening at Lead From Here beyond the content. So excited about that. That won't be podcast format. That'll just be video format on things like YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, places like that. Looking forward to kind of mixing that content up and looking forward to hear what you think about it. All right, so back on today's topic. Today's topic is the doom loop. You've probably heard this described a bunch of different ways. For me, it is anything, whether that's in your social media circles, your work circles, your family circles, your friend circles, any circles around you that can kind of get into a chaotic spiral. And that can be from a myriad of different issues, different reasons, different things, whether that's politics, religion, just the state of the world, the markets, if you're in a job, or, leadership changes or personnel changes or layoffs or any of those things that can kind of get you into this kind of doom loop cycle. That is what I define as kind of doom loop, is where it just kind of gets in a cycle where everything we talk about is chaos. Everything we talk about are the problems. Everything we focus on is these negative, chaotic changes that may be good, may be bad in the long term, but they're chaotic in the moment. So some people may be thinking, hey, like the doom loop's here to stay. Like it's in our media, it's in our social media, it's in our families. It's just kind of the way life is right now. Why are you talking about it here on this channel? And it kind of goes back to the message from last week's episode of just, hey, this is a new time. Things are going to get chaotic. Things are going to be able to shift on a dime, and you need to be able to adapt to that. And the first way I think that you have to stay in a clear mindset is to avoid the doom loop. Because if you're in the doom loop, it's harder to feel like you can just, hey, I'll just pivot, I'll go with the flow, I'll make a change. Because when you're in the doom loop, you are susceptible to being kind of just pulled along by that doom and gloom feeling. That puts you in a spot where you can't really react appropriately, because you're reacting from a place of chaos, a place of lack of control, a place of all these different things that could impact you and your ability to deliver as a leader, to take care of your people, or to take care of the business. And that's not a place I want you to be in as a leader. I want you to be in a place where you're in control. You have all the answers you can possibly give, and you are feeling comfortable with what you can talk about, how you can talk about it, and how you can get your people out of that doom loop. Because if you're in the doom loop, you can believe that they're probably going to be in a similar doom loop. Maybe not everybody, but a large percentage of people that report to you, if they're hearing your doom loop chaos, they're going to pick up on that and they're going to feel the same way. So your one-on-ones are going to be less productive, they're going to be less effective, and it's going to hurt your people and your team and your team's ability to deliver. Okay, I understand why leaders need to do it, but how do I avoid the doom loop is probably the next question. This is one of those things that I'm going to go ahead and caveat right out of the gate. Like, everybody's different. Everybody has their own way of doing things. This is how I tend to deal with it, and this is how I view it. So take what you can from my way of doing things and adapt it to how you live and how you feel and the things that you're passionate about. I'm passionate about a lot of things beyond work. I'm passionate about politics. I'm passionate about people. I'm passionate about just life in general. So I can very easily get pulled into a doom loop when I get frustrated and feel like things are going wrong around me. So I have to be very diligent and understand that things like layoffs, getting laid off, I immediately went into a doom loop of like, what am I going to do? What's next? Where are we going? That I had to pull myself out of that, because the layoff was out of my control. It's not something I can control. Me getting a job, not something I can control. I mean, obviously I can apply and do all that stuff, but at the end of the day, like, a company has to like me, it has to be the right fit, it has to be the right fit for me. There's a lot of different things that go into getting a new job. But instead of being in a doom loop and be like, oh man, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get past this? How am I going to get an income? Instead of being there, I shifted my mindset and I kind of pulled myself away from all the news about layoffs, all the things happening, trying to just kind of reset and understand, hey, where can I move right now in my life that I can control? I can't control the fact that I got laid off, but how do I move forward and control what I'm doing? What are my daily actions? What are the things that I can do to maybe generate an income? Maybe what are the things that I can do to maybe share my experiences through this process? What are the things I can do to spend more time with my family or connect with friends, or a million other things that you could do that are not your job? So I did that. I got off social media. I kind of disconnected from LinkedIn. I kind of just backed out and I just focused on what was around me, the things I could control, spending time with my family, spending time with Amy, spending time with the people that are closest to me, understanding that I need quiet time, spending a lot of time in quiet, going for walks, going for runs, working out, doing things that I could control so I could be ready for what's next. That's how you move forward, is you find the things you control, Silence the things that you can't control, because right now you can't control it. And this doesn't just go for a layoff. This goes for day-to-day interactions in a company. You as a leader, if you're a leader that's high up in a company, you may have access to information that not everybody else does. So it's important for you to understand how that can impact you and making sure that you can disconnect that and find the ways to talk about it without talking about it with your people, and help them understand that, like, hey, there's a lot of chaos in the world. The markets may be crazy and that's causing layoffs, or AI is going wild and a lot of people are thinking that AI will take over the world and it's freaking people out. You can't buy into that. You have to stay up to date with the news. You have to understand what's happening in technology, especially if you work in technology. You really need to. I would say almost everybody needs to kind of understand AI generally these days, but if you're in technology, you have to understand what's happening. You have to understand how the tools work. You have to understand how it impacts your people. Those are all things you have to stay connected with and understand. But there's a difference between taking that in and broadcasting that same chaos out. What information can I use to help my people not feed into this doom loop, not feel stuck in the doom loop, not feel like they have no control? What can you do to give them control in their situation right now? This can apply to a bunch of different ways. You can do the same thing with your family. You do the same thing with your friend circle. You have to find ways to focus on control, because there's only so many things you can control. So focus on those things, because the markets are out of your hands. AI is technically out of your hands. Like, all of these big shifts that are happening are out of your hands. And if you feel like you're at the whim of that, you're going to put yourself in a situation where you're not going to be as effective, you're not going to be as happy, which is probably way more important, and you're also not going to be able to effectively lead your teams, and you're not going to allow them to find that same space of happiness and balance. To wrap up, I did want to throw out a couple of quick, really tactical things to do. Limit your time on social media, even LinkedIn. LinkedIn has become very much social media in its own way. Focus on the things that bring you joy. So make sure your For You page or your suggestion page or what's in your feed feeds what you want, because as we all know, the algorithms are set to show the things that will get you to click the most, which is usually the most like chaotic stuff, because it's gonna get you to, get riled up and get upset, or click that you love it or hate it or whatever, like all those things. Like, it's set up for that. If you can't get your feed right, one of the things that I've done and has worked really well for me is, one, you can reset your algorithm. Look at the settings pages for Instagram, I think all of them have their own way of kind of resetting. Do that. And then anytime something pops up in your feed that you don't want or you're trying to avoid, just say you don't want that kind of content. There's always like usually 3 dots or a way to get to it where you can say, don't show me this kind of content. Eventually the algorithm learns and it stops feeding you all the chaos. It's hard, but if you can do it and you can do it effectively, you can still learn, you can still grow, you can still find communities that will give you a very neutral place to go and understand the information that is important to understand, and then keep moving forward. I know we covered a lot in a really short amount of time, but the key is to focus on what you can control. If you can control it, then control it. That's your feeds, that's your mindset, that's the things that are in front of you. Understanding what is necessary and what's not necessary. Be educated, understand what's happening, but don't feel like you have to embrace or fight for or do everything for everything. The world is going down a path it's going down. We're all going down it together, and I don't have the answers. Nobody else really does. Everybody pretends that they have all of the answers, but they just don't. With all that being said, what do you think? What do you think about social media and all the chaos and media in general, where we are these days? I would love to get everybody's perspective, but at the end of the day, I do think you should avoid as much as you possibly can while being able to stay in the know. You can't go radio silent. I mean, you can, but I think especially in technology, it puts you at a deficit, which I don't want for you. So yeah, with that, take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, and focus on what you can control. Take care, everybody.